Mr Greene, please.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I welcome the opportunity to speak in this debate today. As a member for the West Scotland region, I have the pleasure, along with the constituency and other regional MSPs, to represent a number of islands of notable size and population. The islands of Arran and Great Cumbrae, with a population of around 7,000 people between them, depending on the time of year. Obviously, in the summer period, that swells to a 10-figure sum. But when we think about our island communities, we shouldn't just think about them as places we pop along to with our family on a sunny Saturday summer afternoon. It's important to recognise that they too play a huge part in the Scottish economy, which is why that it is important we support our island communities and recognise that by not being part of the mainland, we may sometimes need to take additional measures to ensure that they are afforded the same standards of living as those of us on the mainland do. If I may, let me take the Isle of Arran. What immediately draws me to Arran is not necessarily always the warmth of its climate, but certainly the warmth of its community spirit and the people. But by its very nature, being an island comes with its fair share of logistical problems. The cost of living is often higher and increasingly becoming unbearable for some. Let me take some examples. The cost of bringing fuel across from the mainland means that islanders are often paying up to 20 pence more per litre for petrol than, for example, in Ardrossan. But it's not just about filling up your car, it's about keeping warm too. Higher fuel costs mean that 62% of island households have to spend over 10% of their income to keep their houses warm, and a quarter of island households have to spend at least a fifth of their monthly income on heating. So I really hope that the Island Bill will take that particular subject into account. The cost of living is also generally higher, and whilst it's good to see that supermarkets such as the Co-op have invested in Arran, many people still prefer to take their cars to the mainland to stock up on petrol and groceries, and that's despite the added cost of getting there and back. Living on an island also comes with its own issues with regards to healthcare, as my colleague mentioned. A recent surgery on Arran, I met with a retired GP who said that he was genuinely concerned that there is not a pipeline of GPs that want to go and live on our island communities. We know, for example, in the Western Isles, the NHS struggles to fill around 30% of its consultancy vacancies. And in many cases, islanders are forced to make the crossing to the mainland to access medical care. The Chamber will remember it's just a week ago I asked a First Minister question on the issue of waiting times, and a gentleman who was living on Arran had a very significant wait. Much of that was around the difficulty in actually scheduling an appointment that worked around the ferry timetables. Appointments were automatically generated, really not taking into account the physicality of the patients, where they lived, and the logistics of getting to and from the mainland hospital. Which leads me nicely into transport connectivity. Much has been said already on the Ardrossan to ferry service. For the sake of time, I won't repeat too much of that, but I think it's excellent to see that there is genuine cross-party support within this chamber today to keep the terminal in Ardrossan in the long term. I actually did pen a question today for general questions that unfortunately we only made it to question 6, but I did ask the government if it had will take into account the negative impact on the economy in Ardrossan if there was a move to Troon. I'm glad to see I did receive a response, and I thank the Minister for this. I've just received it from my office. And it says that the study will look at the economic benefits, public spending and the needs of ferry users. In this very short response, nowhere does it say it will actually look at the negative impact that such a move would create. Maybe you could respond to it in your summing.
Minister.
I was going to say in your closing statement.
Minister.
Just to say to the member to give them the reassurance that the socio-economic impact of any ferry change and whatever decision is made will be part of the tax studies. Just give them that reassurance.
Mr Greene.
Thank the Minister for that reassurance, and I hope that he will listen to the genuine words from across the chamber from all parties that we are the concerns that we have about this potential move. I'd like to also touch briefly on connectivity. It's an area of great interest to me. as the digital economy spokesman in my party, but also through my committee work, I've been meeting a number of organisations to look at innovative ways of how we can reach those difficult and last 5% households in terms of fast broadband. In relation to the issue of mobile coverage, I've met with the leading mobile companies and spoke to them about the difficulties of reaching our rural and island communities. I'm also liaising with DCMS on this, and I welcome the UK Government's £1 billion investment into the digital infrastructure announced yesterday. But it's not all doom and gloom. There are some great success stories. Many of them have been named already. Arran Brewery, Arran Aromatics, the distillery, and their fantastic new 14-year malt that came out, Patterson's shortbread, and so on. Just in summary, I hope that this island bill really addresses honestly the needs of our islands, and I hope that the government has listened quite hard to this debate today. A number of very excellent points have been raised, but I hope they look more closely at how we help island families with the cost of living and to ensure that we can still bring skilled workers to places like Arran. Thank you.